The coronavirus pandemic is wreaking havoc on life as we know it. In response, Locke Foundation researchers have produced a series of policy briefs. They contain specific recommendations for North Carolina policymakers, all with an eye toward quickly and prudently securing the health and safety of every North Carolinian, as well as the vitality of our economy. Dr. Terry Stoops is the Vice President for Research, also the Director of Education Studies at the Locke Foundation. He joins us now with a look at some of those policy recommendations. Terry, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's a scary time in a lot of different ways. We have a public health crisis that has hit our country, and here in North Carolina, we are reacting, and the Locke Foundation is leading. Tell us about the goals of this series of recommendations.
Well, the goal is to provide a list of policy recommendations and context that the state could use to respond to this pandemic in a way that ensures that we get through it in the best possible manner. And this is looking at 5 different areas using our in-house policy expertise to look at some of the different areas where state policy can intervene and make it easier for North Carolinians to receive health care, for North Carolina's children to be educated, for us to be able to use the state budget in ways that can help regular North Carolinians get through this, and to make sure that our workforce remains in its best possible status through this time.
It's really interesting, the details in these reports, which, by the way, are posted at johnlocke.org. Very valuable, interesting information. Terry, it seems to me that the briefs really cover 2 types of information. One is a lot of barriers and rules and regulations and things that really are keeping people from being able to earn a living in an easier way, also keeping us from having access to the full group of medical professionals who have skills that we need right now. So there's that type of recommendation, but also then when it comes to the issue of finances. Thankfully, North Carolina is in a very good shape in terms of our fiscal decisions of the last several years. Talk a little bit, if you could, about those 2 major areas.
Sure. I'll hit on the finances first because this is what a lot of people don't know is just how good the finances are on the state level. Now, we know that there are huge deficits at the federal level. We know that at the federal level, they'll struggle to be able to put together a package that's going to really be effective for all Americans. And if they do, it's going to add to our already astounding deficit. In North Carolina, we have huge billion-dollar surpluses. In fact, we have at our disposal right now over $3 billion available for whatever lawmakers decide is needed. And this may come in the form of refunds or some sort of payment to North Carolinians to help them get through this time. This may come to support aid and any other programs that may be necessary. You know, we don't know exactly how long this is going to last. We don't know how much the state is going to be affected by this financially. We know, we suspect that there's going to be some sort of recession coming out of this. It's good to know that North Carolina's lawmakers have been prudent in the way that they've dealt with taxpayer funds and are ready for any sort of recession or downturn in the economy that may come our way.
Again, all of these recommendations are available online at johnlocke.org on this range of different policy areas, very specific recommendations and details that state lawmakers can use when they are crafting a response to what's going on in our state. Now, Terry, of course, you are not only Vice President for Research, but you are the Director of Education Studies. That's your area of particular expertise, and it's a huge area that's been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. We've got kids who are now getting their schooling online, and that has brought up a lot of interesting discussion about the opportunity that affords us, but also the challenges. So what do you make of online education?
Well, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of question about just how much education we can do online as a state. Now, North Carolina has a virtual, two virtual charter schools and a virtual public school. The virtual public school offers courses online, mostly to high school students, while our virtual charter schools provide education to around 5,000 North Carolina students on a full-time basis. And so we have some infrastructure right now that can help us with some of the online learning that needs to occur. But the reality is that we have to think about some very serious issues. First of all, the availability of broadband and devices. We know that broadband availability and internet-ready and internet accessible devices are not evenly distributed across students in the state. Low-income students might not have access to these things, therefore it inhibits their ability to learn online. But a more important concern is what to do about those students that have disabilities, the special needs students, who through federal law are required to receive services through their school, and how that would square with online learning. Obviously, if they're not in the school building, special needs students can't receive the services that they're legally required to receive. And so the question is, how do we conduct online learning without running afoul of federal special education law? And I think that's one of the more serious considerations that I know that the federal and state government is looking at right now, is to ensure that everyone receives an education online that is equitable and meets their needs.
Terry, is it an easy transition to take curriculum from a bricks and mortar in-person environment to an online environment? And are teachers prepared to do that?
Some are prepared to do that, but many are not. And I think that a lot of times when we talk about online education, we underestimate the teachers that spend their time online and provide online education, whether it be through the virtual charter schools or the virtual public school, is that it's a very unique delivery system for instruction. And it's not always easy to be able to take what happens in a classroom and just put it online. So there's an adjustment that needs to be made. It's not an easy adjustment for a lot of teachers, and it varies by grade and by subject. We could imagine that a teacher teaching math, for example, would have a much easier time putting things online and having students complete assignments than maybe teachers in other areas would have, say English, for example. So we know that there's a great deal of variability in how this is going to be conducted.
Terry, looking long term, do we have any sense at this point of what this could mean? Will kids be able to be tested? Will they be able to be promoted to the next grade, to graduate? Do we have any idea?
We are receiving guidance from the federal and state education agency as we speak, so it's not clear right now. We know that the testing, for example, may be canceled. That would require a waiver from the federal government in order to do so. We have a school calendar law that requires 185 days or 1,025 hours. We don't know whether schools are going to be able to complete that requirement, and so if it looks like they won't be able to do so, then lawmakers will need to step in and waive that requirement as well. A lot of moving parts here, a lot of regulations that have to be interpreted by state lawmakers and the Federal Department of Education. So we have a lot of questions that remain that need to be answered.
And we are just very appreciative that Terry Stoops and also the entire research team here at the John Locke Foundation providing that valuable analysis and expertise in terms of recommendations for moving forward and dealing with this situation. They're here and they are available, all of their work posted at johnlocke.org. Terry, thank you very much.
Thank you.